cannot count than any other. In the spirit of stability, inclusion, and long-term thinking, I wish to announce another important step that we are taking today. I am approving the establishment of the Kano Elders Council.
Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted permission to former governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Yahya Bello, to travel to Saudi Arabia to perform the 2026 Lesser Hajj. Justice Emeka Nwite ordered the temporary release of Bello's international passport, which had been in the custody of the court, to enable him undertake the religious exercise. Bello is currently standing a trial before the court over alleged misappropriation of funds in a case instituted against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The Senate have resolved to hold an executive closed-door briefing on December 25 United States airstrikes on terrorist targets in Sokoto State. This followed concerns raised by Bauchi Central Senator Abdul Ningi over Nigeria's sovereignty and alleged exclusion of the National Assembly.
In December, the United States of America, via its military, took a hit into Nigerian territory, which is a complete violation of this document, which you also to protect, which is a complete breach of the United Nations Charter. Mr. President, the only person under this constitution where powers are vested in him to give an order for a hit in any part of Nigeria is, of course, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Mr. President, the title of Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces is not ceremonial. It is not a guy thing. It is to give the President such powers to control the armed forces and give them order. Even the President himself cannot and shall not, under this constitution, ask a foreign power from any part of the country to hit into Nigeria.
Of course, those were the stories we were able to track in the course of the week on Political Update. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. We have two gentlemen here to dissect the critical part of the Nigerian tax situation, which is our topic for today. In the studio, I have a tax expert who is the Vice Chairman, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Abeokuta and District Society. Well, do I say Mr. or do you have, okay, Mr. Samson Olutoki, FCA, FCET. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And joining us via Zoom is Mr. Austin Adigwe. He is a financial expert. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Okay, before we delve into what the Nigerian tax situation is, let me start with you, Mr. Samson Olutoki. There were rumors about the discrepancies between what was passed at the National Assembly, what was assented to by the President, and what was circulated. I want you to clarify that part for us before we start to talk about what is contained in that document. What do you have? Which one are you studying? Is it the original copies or maybe the adulterated one?
Let me say we have original copy with us because our institute have the original copy. The Institute of Chartered Translation of Nigeria have the original copy, and that's what we are using.
So the original copy now is there anything like adulterated? Maybe you should clarify again for
Okay.
what you call discrepancies that some things were
It was alleged.
Okay, allegedly inserted into
Yes,
it.
but it has not been proven. Although the member of the House of Reps said what he passed was this, and the National Assembly has asked the House to release the original copy. I mean, certified full copy. This is the one everybody is using.
Okay. Maybe we don't know if Mr. Austin Adigwe has a different one. He's studying as a financial expert. Can you clarify to us before we begin the debate on what is happening with the Nigerian tax law?
Okay, so the alterations were alleged on the NCAA, which is strictly administrative, but the meat of the whole tax law centers on the NCA, which is the Nigerian Tax Act. I think that has not been said to have been altered. What was in contention are the powers of Nigerian Revenue Service are provided in NCAA. So they will sort themselves anyway. They will sort themselves and then we will all be fine.
All right, thank you so much for that clarification. It's important we do that so that we know the ones you have and of course whether it is true the rumor that we've been getting. Let's go very deeply into this conversation. The new tax law, the Nigerian tax law, this is the year of implementation and January is almost coming to an end. And implementation is critical as it were. I don't know the stage that we are, whether truly they are actually adopting what he said, and they are not changing anything with respect to this month and of course this year 2026.
I think the law was passed in June last year. The law has been in existence since June last year, but implementation starts 4th January 2026, and we have started with it.
How is it going?
Fine.
Okay.
At least people are complying because I can't say there's enough awareness. Government has done its own part. Our institute has done their own part, and other organizations have been doing that also. At least during the implementation, at least this early stage of implementation, you can't say it is going on fine or not. We still have just less than a month of implementation period now, so we cannot judge whether the implementation is going on fine or not for now. Okay,
let's get to know what exactly we have in the law. It is important, like you said, the issue of sensitization is critical. This is one of the reasons we're also debating, so that our viewers can also watch and get educated. What is contained in this law?
The law is in 4 pieces. We have 4 things. The Anti-Nigeria Tax Act, that's NTA. We have another one for administration. We have for the Joint Tax Board, and we have another one for the one that changed the name of Federal Inland Revenue Services to Federal Revenue Services. That's the 4 law that was passed in 26th June last year. And those laws contain certain issues, policies of government on how to administer the tax law, especially the NTA, which talks about the tax administration, which was even the contested aspect of the act. With that act, it was the act that tells us the process, the policies that affect the taxpayer. And as from the January 1st, people have been implementing, at least many people are aware of that there's a new tax law, and people are complying.
Okay, Mr. Adigwe, it's interesting to note that Nigerians don't want to understand. Nigerians want to understand, but on the basis of my money is not being deducted. That's more like what Nigerians are interested. But of course it is important for Nigerians to also know that as a citizen of this country, we have the duty to pay our taxes as appropriate. So as an expert that looked at the critical part of this particular tax law? Is it to the benefit of the Nigerian people, as it is being repeated by, the president and of course the leader of the team looking into the tax law, Mr. Taiwo Udili's team now? So is it really to the advantage of the Nigerian people or to the government, as it were?
Okay, I think the first clarification that we need to make to the general public is that the reform is not introduction of taxation. We've always had taxation with us. All right, and because of the dynamic nature of fiscal policy, we always find changes in our tax law to suit whatever the government wants to achieve. So that has always been with us. The reform seeks to widen, all right, the tax net, bring in more people, all right, to start paying tax, because this particular law is going to be driven digitally. And when you deploy technology in what you do, it becomes very difficult for people to dictate this tax law. Now, globally, taxes are not based on your revenue. Taxes are based on profit. And there is a process that takes you from your revenue to your profit. You get some deductions, you get some relief before you arrive at even acceptable profit. So it's a long journey. It's actually misinformation to think that government is coming, all right, into your bank account to take your money, okay, by way of tax. It's only when you don't comply, when you don't file your returns, when you flout every single rule, that you leave government with no other option. For example, you don't keep your books, how are they going to assess what you've done as a business person? So we need not fear. Like I said, Nigerians have always been paying tax, maybe in a smaller proportion, but with this invention that is bringing in, for instance, e-invoicing, which is the fiscalization, bringing in banks to report, okay, the transaction threshold of individuals, and making it also compulsory for everybody to have a tax ID to a resident taxpayer. It simply means that those that have not been paying tax in the past are going to kind of learn very fast on how to catch up and then begin to assess themselves to tax. So for Nigerians that have been paying taxes, for example, those in formal sector, I don't think there is any major shift. I've looked at the law. To be very frank, it's progressive. This new tax law is progressive. That's what I can tell you.
Okay, critical at your foundation is the fact that data is important, and Nigerians and of course the people are also worried that do we really have infrastructure to drive the data needed to implement this particular reform, as is being mentioned by the president and of course the team handling this particular reform. Do we have the infrastructure really?
Well, I would want to assume that the minimal level of infrastructure required, okay, to administer the various taxes and also plug all loopholes and reduce tax evasion would have been deployed. I believe so. But I'm also of the opinion that it's a process. It's a process. We may not get everything right this 2026, but as we move on, all right, Nigerians will begin to see the need to also contribute their own quota. I think the major problem why there is so much pushback, and your guest there will also agree to this, is because our taxes have not been creating social benefits for the people. That's why we have all this pushback. But if it is whether taxes are necessary or relevant, they are compulsory levy. So to that extent, it doesn't matter whether you like what they are doing or you dislike what they are doing. Compulsory levy, compliance is cheaper, so let us try and get to the provisions of those laws and to try as much as possible to comply as citizens.
All right, okay, thank you for that contribution. We'll come back to the studio to meet the Vice Chairman, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Abeokuta and District Society. It's interesting, you are part of those that are at the forefront of the implementation of this particular, you talked about tax evasion. It's a critical part. And that's why, you know, when you saw the contribution of Taiwo Udile himself, one of these days, he was talking about the people fighting them are largely not the ones that are really affected, but the people that have been evading taxes for quite a while, the big men of the society and, of course, the big business owners. What can you say with respect to the seriousness of government? Are they really won the war, you know, just to keep pushing this reform, you know, as some are suggesting that they should suspend it, as it were?
No, thank you very much. If you look at the benefits of this new tax law, no reasonable person will say they should suspend it now, because it affects most of the junior, those lower income earners. It affects them positively. People that earn salary, people have a small business enterprise, people that have small business, manufacturing, agriculture, especially those types of businesses, it affects them positively. If they look at the advantage and you measure it, you won't say.
So maybe we should try to let Nigerians know what are the advantages that you said.
Okay.
Let me
like you said, the tax, you can only tax your income.
Okay.
That your salaries, your income in terms of profits on your business, on your salary, or on your transactions. That's when we talk about withholding or VAT. That's only 3 ways. You won't tax what you have in the bank. You won't tax what you have in your house. You won't tax what you transfer to anybody. That one is not, because they are not profits, and they are not your salary, end salary, and they are not a transaction.
Okay. Okay, I think why Nigerians were bothered because you know, there was a particular message circulating in different social media platforms saying that you have to tag, if you send any money to me or to your family members, you have to tag appropriately. If the money is for a particular thing to be purchased, you have to tag it appropriately so that you don't get. So we want to understand really. That's why.
That one is just to assist you to keep your records in case you have, for personal reasons, you need to keep records. This is my salary, this is what I transfer to my brother, this is what I spend on household equipment, this is what I spend on food. You need to do that. You don't need government to tell us to do that.
No, what I'm saying is, there are a lot of...
Because government is not going to tax what you are transferring to anybody, because it's not an income, it's not a profit.
So government can know how much we earn wherever we work. Is that what it means?
Because you pay, when you are working under somebody, you must have registered, you must have a tax ID.
Okay.
That will tell us that in a month you are earning so amount of money, maybe 100,000, then they must have deducted. If you are within the threshold or somebody that's going to pay tax, you will have done something and send it to the necessary tax authority, where they will know that you are earning so much. And if you are earning anything below 800,000 as taxable income, not as income now.
Okay, taxable income.
That's annual taxable income. You will be earning 1.2 million.
Okay.
That's when you have your gross income. You know what to do by gross income. Then when you have your basic and other allowances, that's your gross income.
Okay.
The government has made it a provision, and there has been the law before, that certain reliefs from rent, from pension, for children, all those, we have some relief packages. After deducting that, the remaining amount of money, we call it taxable income. And if it's below 800,000, you are not going to pay tax.
Okay, well, if it is below 800,000, you're not going to pay tax per annum. The experience, let me engage Mr. Adigwe again. This time, let's talk about the VAT. It's one of the most controversial aspects of it. Nigerians go to supermarkets, they go to different places, even though they don't earn up to 800,000 naira annually to be taxed, as has been said by the experts in the studio. They get to the charges, So is that also paying tax? What is it called? Indirectly or what?
No, like I said there are three ways of tax. You have income, that's income you earn as a salary, profit you earn on your business, and tax you pay on every transaction. That's what I'm talking about, going to the mall. When you buy things that are not exempted from VAT.
From VAT, okay.
You pay VAT.
So there's nothing like you are not going to pay tax.
No, look at this law. This law has exempted a lot of things, even from the VAT. If it's a food item, baby items, drugs, pharmaceutical products, educational products, all those things are being exempted. It's zero VAT tax now. They are being exempted from paying tax.
The implementation stage is where we are really, and I cannot remember when you buy something. When I get my receipt, most of the time it is 0.5, like you said, of the total items I bought that will be deducted as VAT, and whether that is complying enough, because you also see the items that you've listed now, baby items. There are times I go and buy my baby things, and part of that they just do a 0.5%. That's talking about the implementation. Mr. Adigwe, can you share part of your experiences with us with respect to VAT and the compliance by private organizations or supermarkets, like we have also said? Are they really not taxing Nigerians, the VAT part of it, the items exempted from it?
Okay, so with respect to VAT, I would say it's currently very chaotic, because most dealers of vegetable supply have actually not come in terms with the provisions of the law. Just like rightly alluded to, as we were introducing me to speak on this, we talked about having a blanket VAT on whatever total in terms of value of what someone purchases in the supermarket. So that's what currently is at play. But keep in mind that we are supposed to have a system of e-invoicing, that at that checkout point, whatever you are issuing to the customer and you're collecting VAT is seen back end. That has not been implemented for most of these dealers, people that deal on vegetable supply. So currently it's very confusing. Some are actually charging VAT on items that are VAT exempt and zero rated. And because Nigerians don't also know, nobody has ever taken anybody up. That's why it's important, before you go against the law, why don't you try and read it? Get the provision. Let's even find out the provision that you are not comfortable with. For most of us are just saying, no, we don't want this, we don't want this. What part of the law or what part of the reform, is not sitting very well with you? So I would encourage Nigerians to go through this tax law, take your time, find out those items that government has exempted from VAT. Alright? They are not going to be everywhere ensuring that the baby items that are VAT exempt, you are not charged VAT. The basic food items that are zero rated, that you are also not charged VAT. But if you have all this information, you can go through your shopping list and then call the attention of the organization that, look, half of what I bought here are not VATable, so why am I being asked to pay VAT? So it's more of awareness creation, which I feel the institute as well as government has not done so well. So the awareness level is a lot low. If you get into the market, there is so much confusion. Some don't even know, how these VAT will be remitted. They don't even have an idea of what is called input VAT or output VAT. So it's chaotic at that level.
Okay, the informal sector is also critical in the implementation stages. How chaotic is that as well? The implementation